Oh, thanks so much, mate. We're going to have a little bit of noise in the background in the studio here where I'm recording this. Hopefully everything's going to really, sound-wise, be good today. I'm really doing everything I can to make sure that sound on this end is good. Sitting with some family members here in the studio, of course, Cambo and the mate Chris, just sitting in the studio here, yeah. And we've got people around us, and everybody's really excited for a new show, mate. Yeah. So how you doing? Good. Everybody's going really good today, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Really good,
mate.
Thank you.
Lukey, I wonder why people, the average person, sort of dies, before 10 a.m. in the morning on Monday, and that Monday happens to be the favourite day in the Western world. People choose to die. I mean, why not Tuesday, mate? Why is it Monday? And certainly, why don't they choose to die on Friday? You know, but certainly Monday is actually, interestingly, a day of the week that is the most popular day, sort of, to die. But it's interesting that people choose to die, on Monday. Something going on there, isn't it? Because you couldn't just all of a sudden have a pattern of people dying more on Monday, sort of thing. Unless it was something chosen. But it is very interesting too that the time of the day is very interesting because it's always sort of pretty much in the morning. So that's amazing. But certain things sort of occur at night, of course, don't they? I mean, you've got at around 2 a.m., you've really got glucose being released by the liver. And that's sort of replenishing cells and things, and you've got this ultradian cycle that's occurred around about 2 a.m., where the liver sort of is releasing sugar stores into the blood to replenish the cells that we were talking about just in our last program. And this is really important because cell respiration really is assisted as a result of having it stored energetic, right? But that damp, wet and cold and acid sort of terrain really does cause injury to the matrix of the body and the bioterrain, the acid-alkaline, the body's conductivity electrically wise, and the negative redox, meaning how much spare electron exists, can have got to a pretty low ebb, especially when someone started to mouth breathe and started to snore. And so then they quickly would have lost all of their carbon, so they wouldn't have had an ability to hold a magnetic force. And then you can see this plasma occur. All of a sudden there'll be just a burst of energy, a flare. And that is like a bardo state where people become connected to all and they can have a consciousness of this. But people could sort of really be living a little bit more having already had a consciousness of this, But anyway, fermentation, of course, really we've been talking a bit about it. It's sort of part of the body's ability to be able to heal itself up and that sort of thing. And our tissue and body does go through processes of fermentation in getting rid of tissue and clearing things back up again and that. But then this fermentation could have sort of run wild, and a person's leg could have just started to mold and rot, because they've got sugar which is not really being managed by the liver. Because they're bringing in all of these disaccharide sugars, which people in the light food movement we've been talking about for some time when we call these runaway sugars. Not too good. But anyway, that's another story. The mouth breathing, let's talk about that just for a second. All of a sudden, bam, a person starts mouth breathing, snoring like crazy, and over-breathing. Within probably about 72 minutes, something like that, they've breathed at least half the volume, a little bit less of this extra. That's extra, half the volume of an Olympic swimming pool. So that's a lot, really. And over time, if you could just sort of see all that volume, that's pretty radical. But then it leaves the person sort of a bit zombieized. And upon awaking, they can sort of really not know where they are, sort of thing, and have to collect themselves because of all of that mouth breathing. But anyway, a quasar light really can send out a luminosity way faster than the speed of light at 300,000 kilometers per hour, second, excuse me. And a universe is really, on this level, you could really imagine existing within universes, actually, of luminosity. And where our cosmos would easily be really, you could imagine it similar to an erythrocyte, like a blood corpuscle even, but probably a bit shaped a bit more like an egg rather than sort of like a disc, because with our blood corpuscles are flying through tubes, and they have their anti-gravity as they're flying through those tubes. But coenzyme A, coenzyme Q10, all these sugars and everything really are being produced right now inside your intestinal tract, and there really isn't anything that you really need out there, if your intestinal tract's really working good. So that's really important. You've got your proper probiotics, which we can talk just a little bit about. But electron transfer and this sort of a thing, like your coenzyme Q10s, and these coenzymes, they really do assist transport electron from one molecule to another, and that's very important, if you can see that going on. Coenzyme Q10 is very important, and intestinal flora is what really produces this. And who has intestinal flora? I mean, who? The vast majority of people on a standard American diet, that's a sad diet, they're wandering around and they have really no temperature control whatsoever. And just going to a Chinese practitioner and getting needles stuck might not necessarily really help that situation, but we could talk a little bit about that. But that everybody who's doing something, they could be doing something wonderful, but, it's not the whole picture. So it's lovely, but it's not maybe going to, heal up everything, right? So, but we could talk just a little bit about this, today. But dead food, that's cooked dead food, fired, everything, bloody cooked, coagulated, congealed, enzyme-resistant, linked, hydrophobic, not miscible with water anymore, no enzyme, so it's going to rob everything from your body. That's called a skeletonized dead calorie, and, you may as well be just eating telegraph poles, which late at night you could digest those if you were young, but over time the body really starts not to be able to digest that stuff, which is really just like soggy cardboard made to taste delicious, woohoo! But anyway, that's another story. That's all about the dead food. But all disease, disruption to the ease you're really feeling so nicely ordinarily in life, the acid coat of the skin, really seriously becomes disturbed when by people bringing in bread and things, you know what I mean? And we've got such great neighbours around here. It's incredible. Everybody's stopping by as they're listening in. It's incredible. But skin scale, flaky skin, dry, hair falling out, blemishes, thickened sort of fatty sort of skin, so that you look like middle age, when you're in your 20s, But so you need a facelift, this sort of thing, But anyway, you've got to be learning about live food. But all disease and disruption of the ease you're ordinarily feeling and everything, you've got a beautiful acid coat of the skin, when you're born and everything. That's seriously becomes disturbed, when people are tucking into pizza, and that's a serious drug, you know what I mean? But people should really be pumped up, about some of these things that's so unsuspecting. But anyway, it's better to be kind and gentle and allowing, and how relaxed your shoulders are in life, that's a thing. But a skin scale, and in everybody's home they've got all this dust, and it's just like their body's just sloughing off all of this dead food. and all this scale has histamine in it, showing bile occlusion and liver and celiac disease. Absolutely, Lukey, not looking good, mate. But everybody sort of really has that universal. Absolutely, because who's not eating dead food, mate? You know what I mean? But anyway, live food, got to really learn a bit about that. But the perils of just going somewhere and getting your neck straightened out, or getting your toenail clipped, or running to the salon and getting your hair done, or having a needle put somewhere, or something might help. You know what I mean? These things do help, but there could be some perils. You know what I mean? Of course, people that are doing the acupuncture and stuff, they'll spend a lot of time on the table. They wake up a bit woozy. People crash their cars after feeling woozy and that. And, there's a lot of stories about that having occurred, which we could talk a bit about because there's endogenous opiates and everything being released while someone's had needles stuck into them. But is that a natural thing, getting the skin just perforated, and sometimes needles are dug right in, maybe 1 or 2 bloody inches. I mean, how would that happen naturally, actually, I don't know. But it could be sort of a time filler on the table. People get up, wander off like a moon-struck cow, and they have no idea what to do, And I think that probably could be the danger with that stuff, But you've got punctured lungs, you've got pneumothorax, you've got lost needles, you've got puncturing of the tissue and internal tissue injury. You've certainly got people wandering around afterward feeling dizzy and fainting. But that's happening a lot, isn't it? Even when people get hypnotized and all sorts of stuff. And they're over-breathers. But tissue does get perforated, in the needling, which the Ayurvedic tradition, they just used to, and still do the acupressure. And acupressure does show that it has a very great power. But let's not throw a baby right out with the bathwater, you know what I mean? You've got something that's a bit wicked going on probably, because a lot of these people that are practicing the Chinese medicine even, they're fat, they're bald, they're sleepy, they've got skin disease, and why don't people look behind the curtain, you know what I mean? You've got certainly... you've got mosquitoes that naturally prick you. So nice, you know what I mean? You've got every now and then you might brush up against a porcupine and a cactus, and then a little bit of a cactus sting. That's a good thing, you know what I mean? You get a bit of a cactus sting in your butt, or you got a mosquito bite. Lovely. And the mosquitoes have got and these insects are supposed to be flying through the air because you're only getting formic acid really as a result of this, and you've got natural sort of narcotic substances which are perfectly released when you sit on the grass somewhere and you've got a bit of chigger, these are the sort of things that would ordinarily happen. And bee stings definitely could help, you know what I mean? But I just wonder about driving the needle in, 1 or 2 inches. It just doesn't feel good, That by itself can cause people to faint, But, but anyway, look, dizzy and fainting and tissue being perforated and unnaturally, certainly we can understand the nature of getting bit by a mosquito and how lovely that is, and then it should be fine, But people do suffer a lot of discomfort and suffered afterwards, and then there's reports, of course, of lost needles, not too good. But underreporting, a lot of these people, when you go to talk to them, you say, you know what, most of these Chinese people, they're just bloody foisting dead food on people, They don't want to tell anybody that, And so that's underreporting, isn't it? That's an example of underreporting. You know what I mean? I mean, the moment you hear a truth, well, you should be able to tell people this. I mean, you shouldn't be just part of a clique
that just because they don't know it, you just decide that you're not going to say anything about it. I think you should. But there's a lot of underreporting going on, and sedation, danger, driving under the influence of having been on the table, and bam, people are driving their cars into fences and stuff. But you might take just a tiny bit of all the endogenous opiates that are released when those needles are stuck. And there could be some good things happening, the woozy feeling, But anyway, never dealing really with the underlying problem, that's going on. And that's really an error to me, a waste of time that people are not really dealing with the actual underlying error that's going on. Cooked and dead food consumption and just running around thinking way too much, right? You should think less. But anyway, that's another story. Look, herbal remedies have jumped 380% in sales during the 1990s. I mean, I was really underway with getting herbs and things back and educating everybody about herbs. Woohoo! Man, I tell you, there was very few books back then, and the people weren't even considering culinary herbs. But by the end of 1997, mate, there was a 380% sales increase in herbs and stuff, and Herbalife and all of these things. I saw all of these people get going. But I was a really major speaker running around the country educating people about value of herbs, but I was also educating people about the perils of herbs too, especially Chinese herbs, mate. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, I don't like herbs that are radiated, they've got that radiolytic element in it. And do you know if those herbs are being radiated or not? I mean, what comes out of China that's not radiated, and all these herbs that are grown in gardens, which I always did everything I could to make sure I had herbs that were naturally collected, from native America here. But anyway, 37% of all Americans right now are using herbal remedies, for things. But you've got the perils of superfood, and people can read that article, Monster Found at the Beach. That's right, the perils of superfood, to know that they could be taking in way more tannins than they should, way more potassium intake, dangerous levels. We talk a little bit about in a second here. But that's what's going on in Chinese medicine, I'm telling you. What little evidence is going on to show that people have any idea about live food. It's just cooked, dead food, And then Chinese herbal nephropathy in Belgium, 1992. That's a disease, a nephrotoxicity, kidneys really being knocked right out. We did look it up. Look, even people are being given Chinese herbs and having suffered from hyperkalemia because they're just driving potassium excess, and that can kill a person. You've got excess potassium and this sort of thing. But thyroid and bile bladder and celiac condition are absolutely not really being corrected by being a bean and rice eater, a bean and rice eater. But certainly that's not going to be corrected if you're chasing the juicy butt of a lamb either. But thyroid, bile bladder and celiac condition, these things cannot really be corrected. And you could be just eating dead food, you know what I mean? And that's not a good thing, right? But just acted on and just going downstream and trying to clean down there, that is not going to work, no. And a lot of this is all downstream cleaning, you know what I mean? But felt fatigue, and then people have got, voices that are hoarse and real heady, men have real squeaky, friggin' high voices, and other people have just got very, very heady voices, and they've got bloat, all of them, they've got bloat, yep, that's right, blocked chakras, you know, are not speaking from their bellies at all. It's very heady, educational sort of people, didactic sort of heady thinkers, you know. But they've got poor sleep, ringworm, mucus, mucousy stools. They don't poop like properly, sticky, mucousy, sinky, floaty sort of stools, celiac masked by Hashimoto's disease. Most of them have Hashimoto's disease, mate, you know. They're not controlling their temperature. They've got runaway sugar with all the rice they eat. Dead food, extremely high phosphate, and very low calcium, honest to God. And they're very, very into these high insulin growth factor types of foods with the beans and the grains do. But they all really have hypothalamus challenges. Thyroid releasing hormone doesn't really work from the hypothalamus properly. Their pituitaries are all become blocked because of heavy metals from bromidated rice and bleached foodstuffs and things, and then shower water that's got all the fluoride and all of the junk in it, you know, that you vaporize, you know, when you have a shower. And then pituitary doesn't release thyroid stimulating hormone like it should, or it overdoes. And then people are just like chowing down on salt, which has got all this crystallized iodine in it, which is really not the sort of iodine that you really should have, you know. And then thyroids become sort of affected because of immune conditions and things, which I don't know how much time we've got in our program, right? But iodine and the thyroid stimulating hormone and iodine causes thyroid peroxidase to be incurred and manufactured of T4 or T3. And you need T4, you need T3 to actually get any fuel in your cell, you know. But you need proper intestinal flora to have all this, see? And that's higher up the mountain, you know what I mean? But anyway, a lot of people are talking about thyroid function, but they should really be talking about the earth garden. That's right, they're wrapped around, and is this organic or not? You know what I mean? The earth garden they're wrapped around, you should be certified organic. That's right. You know, why should you be worried about having something organic, but then all of a sudden, bam, you're slipping into all these pesticides and insecticides, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's another story. Look, T4 needs to be broken down to T3 ratio, and that really is affected enormously by bile occlusion. Oh, yeah. And then how's that going to be healed, you know, on the table with a needle? You know what I mean? You've got to stop the beans and grains, you know. But how are you going to do that unless you get rid of your bile stones, you know? And it's dangerous if you don't, you know what I mean? But anyway, a peripheral tissue really requirement really does convert T4 to T3 if you're on live food, but not if you're a beans and grain eater, you know what I mean? And you've got bilirubin, yellow pigment all through the skin, and then that sort of goes to a green colour called biliverdin, and then you look really, really green around the gills, which a lot of these Chinese practitioners, you know what I mean, they look like they're teeter-totterers, you know what I mean, just about to fall over, mate, you know, but not everybody, you know what I mean, not everybody. You've got a lot of fit people burning the candle at both ends, mate, you know what I mean, but by the age of 37, you know what I mean, you can't, they look like Pat, you know what I mean, you don't know if they're coming or going, you know. But anyway, that's another story, you know. Look, T4's really got to be cleaved down to T3. Everybody knows that. And 20% of T4 really becomes active only if you've got proper probiotics, Jub's Life Colloid probiotics in your intestinal tract, mate. You know what I mean? Life Colloid present really and having healthy gut flora. Got to have that healthy gut flora. If you've got healthy gut flora, mate, you've got healthy thyroid function. but who has healthy thyroid function, you know what I mean? And who has healthy gut flora? You know what I mean? People are stealing money from others, you know what I mean? Just taking their money, you know what I mean? Sticking a few needles in, giving them a bit of something on the side, you know what I mean? But is it really healing things up? And have they healed themselves up? No. Sorry to say that, but anyway. Look, a lot of these beans and grains and yak meats and rhinoceros tusk and all that stuff in Chinese medicine is excessive estrogens, and certainly excessive estrogens on beans and grains is going to really affect everything, and that really does affect thyroid building hormone, and you've really got excessive water between the cells. And if you're a soybean eater, you've got 40% more estrogen than you should. And is that the reason why by the age of 32 you're starting to look like Pat? And we don't know if you're coming or going. Well, maybe that's a good thing. Who knows? But anyway, that's a conversation. But that's another thing. Look, fatigue. Most of these people are fatigued, I'm telling you. They've got weight challenge. They're podgy. Oh, yes. They're fat round the belly. They're just taking money. Their skin generally is dry. They're yellow. They've got facial swelling, mate. Oh, yeah. They've got itchy skin, slow wound healing, viral cold susceptibility, muscle cramping, poor circulation, hypersensitivity to temperature and cold, and they're depressed, they're constipated, they're headachy, eyesight challenges, fertility challenge, bipolar, schizophrenic, cold hands and feet, wet, and they're just wandering around like moonstruck cows, taking money from the unsuspecting other people. And I don't see them healing anybody up, sticking needles in people. Does that make sense, Lukey?
Absolutely. Last time I went to a practitioner, I left the table because it felt like he punctured my kidney.
Yes. Well, there you go, mate. You know what I mean? Personally, look, listen, I'm only getting just to a small amount of this, and I'm very sorry that we're only just talking about Chinese medicine, because you've got a lot of other stuff going on, and then there's some goodness, isn't there, too, right? And there's people who really practice and they have a great beautifulness, and there's some excellence, and that's a very important thing. But you've got a lot of drongos, dingoes acting like zombies, you know what I mean? And that's called a drongo, and we need to correct the drongo factor, that's all. But T4 is converted to T3, and then the body really can use a dead food, but a dead food consumption blocks T4, to convert to T3 if you've got a bile occlusion, right? You've got to get rid of that bile occlusion, all right, and learn how to do that, okay? And that's sort of very important. Hopefully the audio is okay. I'm not sure. I was so quiet, I think, in other programs. I don't know. It was sort of like la-di-da, I just wonder. But look, the bone is really being metabolized. You know what I mean? A lot of these people, they get bored real quick. Their nails just sort of soft. They get fungus under the nails fast, in between the toes. Most of them have toe jam and stink, and fish is not going to help that in your gut. The thyroid produces calcitonin, and that just calcifies these people's membranes of where blood is passing through the nephrites of their kidneys. They've all got scale on their teeth and calcium phosphate deposit all through their body, mate. and I've never found someone who hasn't. So what about that? Anyway, that's another story. Look, these bean and grain eaters, they are constipated and they eat a lot of flesh, and they're on a flesh diet, and they get gut infections, and they're full of parasites and ringworm. I personally think people have got to wake up, get rid of that poor nutrient absorption. You know what I mean? And every one of them are just jelly legs. Honest to God. And that's just shocking to me, how jelly-legged most of these people are. You know what I mean? But anyway, look, melanin is knocked out. They get white wherever a mosquito bites them and everything. Pigment doesn't get in there again. And a lot of them have that condition. They're impotent. They don't have any testosterone or nothing. And they have poor sperm count. They do have bile stones, mate, and they're sluggish, and they have very distended bile bladders, and this is scientific, and this is objective, and this is not subjective. You understand? Look, growth hormone is blocked by insulin, and they just are chowing down on insulin stuff, the rice, and all of their cooked dead food. It raises insulin, and they have no fat-burning ability whatsoever, and sticking a needle in you is not going to help you. I'm sorry. You've got your fat burning, you've got insulin, glucose metabolism, all whacked out with your dead food rice eating. You've got thyroid hormone and cholesterol imbalance. You've got very high triglyceride counts, and then who doesn't? You've got sluggish bones. You've got mastitis of breasts. You've got men walking around with breasts. That's right. You've got saggy, surgically sterile food that they recommend that causes parasites just to be like ringworm all throughout the whole of the body. You've got fluke worm, ringworm, hookworm, pinworm, mate, you name it, itchy asses, you know. But protein metabolism is poor. You ask them if they've dreamed lately, any of these people. They say, Jesus, mate, I can't remember the last time I had a dream. Why? They're dead food eaters, mate. This is not natural. Stop. Don't tell me dead food is natural. And get your words behind these words, honest to God. You've got tetrathyronide enzyme, which converts T4 to T3, and that is made in the liver, in the intestinal tract, in the muscle, in cells of the muscle, heart, and nerve. If you're on live food, mate. But if you're a dead food eater, you're just gonna. It's just life begets life, and dead begets dead. Sorry about that, but that's the truth. But look, 75% of people are affected, really happen to be the people who are actually reporting the illnesses, and women report illness far more than men do. So they have a higher percentage of people, apparently. But certainly toxic estrogens are dominant in dead food, and then all the cosmetic, put it on your skin stuff. But a lot of these women do have very thin, straw-like breaking hair, hair falling out. They have cold, sweaty hands and feet, and they have hot flashes and things, you know, and that sort of thing. But DNA from antelope and slug and black bear and leeches in your herbs is not going to help. I'm sorry, but a lot of these herbs, herbal formulas in the West, people don't want slug or necessarily something from a leech. But maybe that might be even better than some chemical, you know, that's going to whack you out too. Those things may not be good. But a lot of those herbs, by the way, do contain aristolochic acid, and look it up. Aristolochic acid really does cause kidney and urinary bladder cancer, and 84% of the Chinese herbal takers show molecular signature exposure of aristolochic acid. And in all the herbal formulas, the Chinese herbal formulas, they have these for weight control herbs and things, and all their skin herbal formulas are full of this aristolochic acid, mate. And all the soybean and the cashew, wow, how toxic. And how about all of that being found in traditional Chinese medicine? Wow. Anyway, even in Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, they call this mu tong, and mu tong herb found in herbal formulas and things, affects blood in the urine and affects ringworm and all this sort of stuff, So that's not a good thing, is it? Yeah. Are you there, Lukey?
Yes, mate. It's gonna cut off in about 5.5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, get your beautiful sleep, rest, fast, learn about gut cell rejuvenation. You know what I mean? I've looked at all these therapies. I think it's a lot of theraping going on and counselling. And I personally think people should stop their therapy and all the counselling. Yeah. Would you agree, mate?
Yep.
Good. Yeah, it's amazing. I think people need to be able to get their rest. They should be able to walk into a store and really find live food. Really, you should be able to clear away the bile occlusion. Bile occlusion is a mass epidemic, all right? Please read Monster Found at Beach and learn a little bit more about the perils of superfood, and then stop teaching boys to be a superman. You know what I mean? Because why do you have to be super? Why can't you just be a man? Do you know what I mean? And why do you have to be very strong? Why do you have to put very in front of it? Does that mean that you're actually weak or something? If you get back your proper intestinal flora, this is going to help a lot. If you clear away your bile occlusion and bile stones, life begets life and dead begets dead, all right? And the human beings have not improved upon nature, okay? So stop cooking everything, get rid of your bile stones, and get rid of all the yellow bilirubin from your skin, which I've seen many, many, many times people do, all right? Does that make sense, Lukey?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good on you, mate. Well, let's hope we can get the word out there, all right? Let's correct the things that's going on a little bit, Let's be kind and gentle with people, and there could be some use somewhere where somebody is, and maybe that's way better what they're doing than something else, you know what I mean? Then let's learn a little bit, and let's have informed consent with the things that we're doing, you know what I mean? And let's not just do it because someone did it, but just think about the things we've been talking about on the program here. I think that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's amazing. But anyway, I think that it's really important that people can really be in their beautiful timelessness, and then they can be of no occupiedness, and they can be just not of any necessary intention or anything much, or not to have to do of any necessity, and not to have to walk around thinking that they're awakened or not awakened, and wondering about that, but that no moving or any createdness or any reality really ever really was, and certainly time and all the temporalness and all of that is a great duality and fiction, you know what I mean, and thinking in people's head. Personally, how about we just relax all of that silly thinking and what have you? and realize this beautiful I awareness that you have inside, and this beautiful integratedness and congruency. I really would love for us to talk more about behavior, and integratedness and congruency and being more associated in life, versus walking around just sort of having been like a moon-struck cow, Lucy. Yeah. Which maybe is better than being all pumped up, you know what I mean? Certainly pumped up is not the right either, you know what I mean? But we need to really learn about I awareness. But you don't just go somewhere to meditate, you know what I mean? You should be being in this beautiful meditativeness in your beingness. And this is I awareness. And this is you really living with a beautiful confidence and conviction preserved far more, all right? And then this really is you living in the gap, okay? And then you really should be catching hold of this and being more in I awareness. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah. But I awareness really is everyone that's really doing a gorgeous listening and a complete unaskness, you know what I mean? This is not anything that's being imparted from the outside. Absolutely not. This is coming to you live from the inside of yourself. That's right. And this is I, and this is you, and this is pure knowledge, you know what I mean? You don't have to have anybody tell you this. This is something coming from inside you. That's right. This is pure knowledge, mate. I cannot be described. No, absolutely not. Am can be, but let's have this beautiful I awareness, and let's just stop this getting on and gaining and getting rid of, and let's be much more formless in our being. You know what I mean? Yeah. Formlessness. This is really where formless in our being. You know what I mean? Yeah. Formlessness. This is really where formless in our being. You know what I mean? Yeah. Formlessness. This is really where